Hey, yeah, that's my impression of Shang-Chi. Should I do it again? Hey, yeah.
Or you could have just had some rings and just threw it.
I don't have rings that big which fit around my forearms, unfortunately. Though I do have very small forearms. As much as I go to the gym, I just can't make these any bigger. Unfortunately, it's just it's just not happening for me.
Or you
But
could
yeah,
use a bracelet.
we're here to talk about Shang-Chi.
Yes, we are. And viewers discretion advised. We will be giving away spoilers and everything because we gave y'all enough notice.
And I've even put spoilers in the title as well, so it's your own fault. It's your own fault. But there are actually people out there who like spoilers. It's actually they've done research on this, and there's people who like to watch a TV show and they like the security of knowing what's going to happen.
Nah, that's weird. Like, I mean, you get that urge where you want to see. That's why you got binge watching. Binge watching is for that. That's to get rid of spoilers. Like right now, I just restarted watching. Not sure if you remember that series, Fringe.
Yeah, I remember Fringe.
Yeah, so recently I saw they started playing it on Monday this past week on one of these channels on Sky, and it's coming on nightly. But I couldn't wait for it because I was like catching up to it, and luckily it gives you the option to just download the entire series from season 1 to 5. So I just did that, and I'm almost finished season 1 already. So no spoilers because I get to watch them straight away. So that's what you should do.
Yeah, why not? Why not? But yeah, back onto Shang-Chi. My brother's suggesting that I use curtain rail rings.
There you go.
That's a good point. I actually don't know where our old ones are. There might be somewhere around here. I don't think I've got the power though to like shoot them at people. I just don't think that's going to happen. But I haven't thought about how we're going to structure this conversation. I think we should just get into it and just freestyle it. It's probably the
Like
best
we
way.
always do.
I do structure stuff. I don't. I
But
do
do I
structure
ever
other
stay on
stuff, by the
topic?
way. What was that?
I said, do I ever stay on topic when you structure stuff?
No, this is why I've always got to bring you back in. This is the entire reason why I do structure things, just to make sure you don't start talking about totally random stuff.
That's what make the Vehement great. To just come out
Oh.
with some odd stuff that's random.
You'll be telling me later that you've had this amazing experience going across the zebra crossing. But anyway, Shang-Chi. What did you think of Shang-Chi as a movie?
I thought Shang-Chi was absolutely amazing from start to finish. It had everything that we come to love in a Marvel movie. It's got storytelling, it's got comedy, it's got passion, it's got action, and it's got things that one of the things I really loved, which because for those who wasn't aware, Manny P and myself, we went to watch it when it came out
The day
last
after
week.
it came out,
Actually, yeah, the day after it came out. And one thing that we spoke about, which sometimes you see in certain movies, they often find a way to just throw in, even if there's a possible romance or interest of romance or love interest, they always seem to find a way to get some kind of like sexuality in there, kiss, some kind of unnecessary passion. And in this, they didn't. They just kept it just as you would expect in a traditional like Asian movie, like unnecessary.
Actually, let's talk about this. The relationship between Shang-Chi and Katie, played by Aquafina, and Shang-Chi, played by Simu Liu.
Yes.
Do you think that relationship between them? Because I think that's one of the most endearing things about that movie. Is just their friendship. It's a really nice friendship, and I really like the way they have this natural chemistry and they bounce off each other really well. I think that's one of the things that really makes this movie. But do you see that relationship as becoming something more than platonic moving forward? You are the ladies' man of the group, so you'd know.
Oh my God, I am no such thing. Yes, I'm a upstanding, law-abiding citizen.
I mean, you can be
And
that. You can
truly,
be that as well, and be a ladies' man at the same time. They're not.
you know,
They're not
a
mutually
ladies'
exclusive.
man mean that I'm a male Jezebel, and I am no such thing.
Oh, you
Yes.
are. You are. You definitely are. You've got, yeah, such a bad rep. Um.
Yeah. So, okay, to answer your question, I think it's being done very respectful, as how you would expect, in the
he is.
sense
He's a
that
player.
no, Manipy's not a player. I mean, he's
No,
the
no.
Duke.
My brother's
Well,
saying you're a player.
see, even my tablet fainted when it heard that. Like, oh my God, no, he's not a player. But I think it was done very tasteful, in the sense that, though you could see there's little hints that there could possibly be something there, because if you look in how most people want a relationship, genuinely, they want a relationship that's built from a strong friendship.
Hmm.
Where you have history, you grow together. And they've got history, the fact that, they were friends from he was an exchange student, not exchange student, from when he first started, limited English and whatnot. And they grew together, they grew up together. So it would have been a bit far fetched to say the minute that, he got his ability and she sees certain things, then, they just jump in bed.
Yeah. That.
So it
Yeah.
wouldn't be true to their relationship,
Yeah. It'll
because it
be
would mean that,
unfair. It'll be bad storytelling to that suddenly change the dynamic of their friendship.
yeah, they still, it was still genuine. You could see little hints of things, like, for instance, I know we're going a bit forward, but when he was fighting, when he was in
Don't
like
be
that kind
jumping
of fight,
everywhere. It's fine.
yeah, that little fight club, and when she saw him shirtless, and she was just like, whoa, when she saw that, he had like a body underneath, which shows that even though they have a great friendship, he never did anything distasteful in front of her, like, showing off his body, like, it was true to who his character is, in terms of what we've seen on screen, that, he's not like a show off, he's a very modest, like, respectful person,
I
which
think that's one
obviously
of. I think that's one of the actual one of the really positive things about the movie, and what makes the movie such a nice watch is that Shang-Chi does actually come across as as a really nice bloke, and not like overly nice where you find it a bit sickening. He just thinks
yeah,
like, I'd like to have a mate like Shang-Chi. That'd be pretty cool, even without the
yeah,
fighting ability. It'd make a cool
exactly.
mate.
But it shows you how humble he is. But the fact that he's got all that ability and he's never displayed any of that, which when he was being bullied, he could have laid out them dudes, but he didn't. He was very, based on what he's been through, he obviously didn't want to draw any unnecessary attention to himself, because given the time of when this situation is, that would have been a time when he's in school, when social media, things like that, would have probably just starting to kick off for
Hmm.
his age group to get popular, which means it would have been a place where people could have put his, everything, on social media, his fighting, all of that. And the fact that he was trying to be incognito, hiding from his father, then that would have defeated the purpose of him going undercover, literally,
Yeah, exactly. Yeah,
trying
he
to
had
stay
to,
low.
even though he called
So,
himself Sean, as is pointed out by Katie, it's like, which sounds exactly like Shang.
well, think about it. He was a young guy. He's not going to know any better to say, oh, let me do this. He's skilled in the art of fighting, but in terms of being worldly, he wasn't.
Yeah, what's your name?
So,
Sean.
or maybe he probably did say Shang and they couldn't pronounce it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
yeah, that
like,
happens as well.
"Hey,
Yeah,
Sean? Is it Sean T? Sean. And he's like, yeah,
yeah,
just Sean or
that'll
whatever.
do. That'll do. That'll do. It's fine.
No, think about it, man. It makes sense. How many times have people mispronounced your name when you said it?
Listen, in my family history, I've got like grand relatives who've literally had their names reversed. Like their names were like, for example, Pushotami Maria, but they're like kids and their like descendants are all got the surname Pushottam because whoever was filling out the forms when they emigrated to Fiji or whatever swapped the names around.
But even just
It
in
happens.
general, like,
Yeah.
it's not even just to say, like, it's based on a different cultural thing or whatever. It's just the fact that even with, for instance, like I remember when I started secondary school, and Mr. Rodney, our maths teacher,
That was a
he was
bad day.
also from the he was also from the Caribbean. He always mispronounced my name. He would never say David. He'd be like Davigan, and I'm just like, there's no G in my name or anything. So I can understand Shang-Chi, and I probably told him like, yeah, my name is Shang, and Sean, yeah, Sean T, Sean, yeah, we'll just call you Sean for short. And he's just like, yep, I'll just call it Sean.
But yeah, so absolutely. But yeah, I think there's so many nice acting performances in this movie.
Nice.
Yeah, nice. And I'm using that term nice because they're powerful performances, but they're really nice performances in the sense that it's such a nice watch. Do you know what I mean? Like everything just feels natural, and it was a very comforting movie for me to watch personally.
Yeah, it was absolutely amazing. I loved it to the point that I watched it twice so far. I've seen it twice so far. It was absolutely amazing. I mean, every character. There wasn't. I can't think of. Sometimes you watch a movie and you look back and you think, well, you know what, that scene wasn't really necessary, or that was a bit too long. That particular. There's nothing that you can see in this that you can say it's unnecessary. Like all the scenes
There's
were
no
a
way.
necessity. Yeah, everything made perfect sense. Like like even when he was in the lift, when he was trying to find his sister, and he's in the lift, and the guy's like, sign here, and poor guy, he didn't even read the form just to show, how we are. It's just
Yeah.
signing, and didn't know literally that he was signing like a waiver, probably to say that if you die, we're not liable for any injuries or whatever. And he ended up getting put into a fight club because he signed up for it without realizing or whatever. So, but had you not seen that scene in the lift to know that, and it had just gone straight to him in the fight, you think, well, how did it get here? Why are you in a fight? So everything actually made sense in terms of the story.
Yeah. So another thing I really liked about this movie was the homages it plays to other great classics from the past. So I don't know if you picked it up, but the bus fight, or was it a tram or a bus? I think it was a bus. I'm pretty sure it was a bus.
It's like a bus tram thing, yeah,
It's like an amalgamation of the two.
Yeah.
Well, I'm going to call it a bus because it could go off track. So yeah, it was a bus. But you've got that amazing fight with Razor Fist and not Shang-Chi, the Mandarin's goons. And it's just an amazing fight sequence from start to finish. But what I really liked was there's like this old boy kind of homage scene where he's fighting through the carriage, and they film it in like one take, just like Old Boy does when he fights in that kind of
the elevator, the apartment, the hallway.
Yeah, I love that little nod to Old Boy. It's just like, because you have to respect where you came from, and that's what I think this movie does. It respects what came before it.
Yeah, shout out to Old Boy. If anyone hasn't seen that, please go and see it. Not the Spike Lee American version. Don't do that. With Josh Brolin. Funnily enough, see how it all connects? Josh Brolin, who also played Thanos and Cable.
He should just been Thanos in that remake.
Yeah, it was absolutely horrible.
To be honest, I haven't
the original version.
To be honest, I haven't watched the Old Boy remake. I've only watched the Korean one. I have no intention of ever watching the American one.
Yeah, I made the mistake of actually watching it. I'm not sure if I went to the cinema and watched it, or if I watched it I probably went to the cinema and watched it. It was probably one of those ones. But when you've got the unlimited pass, every now and again there is a bad one that you watch and you just try and block it out your head. But yeah, it was absolutely horrible. But
I can imagine.
The original, please go and check it out, because it's part of the Tartan Asian Vengeance trilogy, which is 3 movies: Old Boy, Sympathy for Mr. Vengeance, and Lady Vengeance.
Yeah. The other 2 are really dark. I mean, I actually, there were some scenes I'm going totally off track here, but there were like some scenes in Lady Vengeance which I personally couldn't watch. They were so difficult to watch.
Yeah.
So I warn you about that. Old Boy is dark, but watchable or shock you, but the other two, you got to make sure you're in a certain mood. You're not feeling vulnerable when you watch those other two. Let me just say that. But it shows like other bits of kind of reverence to the movies of before. Like I like the fact that Shang-Chi kind of does Wing Chun.
Yeah.
And you know, I love the fact that Shang-Chi kind of does at the end of the movie, he fights his dad twice, and first he uses Wing Chun. The second time he uses Tai Chi. From what his auntie taught him, and I love that kind of. It was almost symbolizing that he needed to be more graceful and let go of some of the aggression by using Tai Chi.
Anger. Yeah, literally, you just fight with a calmness and inner peace instead of rage.
Yeah, Battle Royale is a great movie.
Oh my God, that is an absolutely amazing movie. I love that movie. Which, for those who isn't sure, you know, Kay just put up Battle Royale. Battle Royale is one of the greatest movies ever, which some people say, which is kind of true. That's where that's where Hunger Games stole their ideas from. Yeah, Hunger Games was stole, or should I say, Battle Royale is the real version of what Hunger Games knockoff American version is.
Yeah, Hunger Games is a great movie. If you really want to get into Asian cinema, like that, The Ring,
Battle Royale,
The Ring trilogy.
Yeah.
You should watch Memories to Murder. I think is a Korean movie. That's a great movie as well. So many great stuff. About 10, 20 years ago, there was so much. Probably still is. I just haven't checked it out. But
yeah, it's because things have changed now. You don't even. Oh, Amazon Prime, nice. It's because things have changed now. It's not like back in the day. You know, we could go to like HMV, like the big HMV, and you've got like the World Cinema section, and then you could go in there and you'd get to see all those amazing foreign films. But now, literally, with how technology is now, literally, it's just you have to either wait for stuff on Facebook. You know, when sometimes you'll get a link to a film or something, and then you'll be like, "What's that series?" or whatever it is, and but yeah, there's great stuff out there. Even though it's subtitles, a lot of them. Yeah, Parasite, that's a good one. You have to, be an open mind, especially if you love enjoying things. You have to be open minded because there's some wonderful movies out there. But yeah, I mean, going back to this, it does pay homage to a lot of things. You saw some scenes like when he's fighting with, when his dad is fighting with his mom when he first met his mom. Literally, that's more like a scene from like House of Flying Daggers / Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Yeah,
which was absolutely amazing.
Again, and this isn't them ripping off those movies. This is them paying homage to these movies and saying these are amazing movies. And I actually hope, as a result of this movie, the younger audiences do go and check out those old movies like Crouching Tiger, like Flying Daggers, like Old Boy. I hope the younger generation do go back and check out those movies because they're great movies.
But even the aunt, his auntie in Shang-Chi, she actually starred in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon.
Did she?
Yeah. Remember, she was his love interest, but he never really got with her because she was with his friend first.
Okay, I'm going to double check you because I did ask you who the actress was in the cinema, and he told me it was Maggie Q. So
yeah, I got the name wrong. It's Michelle Yeoh.
Yeah, Michelle Yeoh was in Crouching Tiger, Hidden Dragon. Just going to confirm that. Definitely is. You were wrong in the cinema when you were like, "Oh, that's Maggie Q."
Yeah, I was wrong in the cinema.
And to be honest, I did think, is it? I thought, oh, he knows what he's talking about. I'm going to believe him.
When I was overwhelmed and excited at the prospect of, Shang. It was absolutely amazing. One of the scenes that I really loved in Shang-Chi, I mean, I loved everything, but one of the scenes I loved was, on the bus fighting scene.
Yeah.
The guy who was filming, the passenger who was filming with his phone.
He's a comedian, isn't he? He's actually like he's like a comedian. He's like a well-known comedian in America. I think his name is Clement. And he's actually in the Spider-Man movie as well. When he's saying, "Oh, Spider-Man, do a flip." Yeah. It's the same guy.
He absolutely killed in this because he just epitomizes today's culture with technology.
Maggie Q, schoolboy error. And by
Yeah,
the way,
thanks
and
for exposing me, Manny.
my brother says, well, watch Warrior. Michelle Yeoh's in that as well.
Oh, you mean the series Warrior?
I'm not sure. Hopefully,
Yeah, there's a series Warrior with that is absolutely. It's with the, funnily enough, the guy who play Storm Shadow in
we're not going to talk about Action Force or GI Joe.
in Snake Eyes. He's the one who actually stars in. He's like the main character in Warrior, which is, again, it pays homage to like Wing Chun, because it's like Wing Chun he does inside that as well
Yeah,
too. His
yeah, it's the
fighting
series.
style.
It's the series. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely amazing. 2 seasons. It's on, if you got Sky, it's on Sky. Box sets, you can actually watch both series. Both
Michelle Yeoh
seasons,
is
I should.
actually very good in the Star Trek stuff, which Netflix is doing as well. Just putting it out there. If you like Star Trek as well, Michelle Yeoh is very good in that as well. She doesn't do any martial arts. Don't think she does, but she's very good. Where were we? So
We're talking about the comedian, like, I was saying, like,
oh, because
what he
Clement,
does,
yeah,
which is
yeah,
just, it speaks volume for today's generation, where everything, it's like, like Facebook Live, which, remember I was saying to you, Manny, like Facebook Live and the Instagram Live now has taken over for old
yeah.
school.
So
ah,
was
Old
Razor
school
Fist in the
world
comics?
star.
In the Wolverine comics? Oh my god, I must. Yeah, he was, wasn't he? Oh my god, yeah. So there was because in the little video we done before and after we saw it, I was like saying, "Oh yeah, they're gonna have Madripoor in this movie," and I thought there'll be a Wolverine reference possibly, and there wasn't any Madripoor. They were in Macau, not Madripoor. I was let down by the internet, but Wolverine reference right there, Razor Fist. But yeah, I love the Clements, the comedian scene because, as you were saying, I love the fact that he had the arrogance, like, or the delusion to say, "Oh, I've done some martial arts training, so I'm going to grade this
Yeah,
as it goes on."
but think about it. That is so accurate, because if you look at it, anytime you see any form of martial arts right now, whether it be actual fighting, whether it be martial arts or boxing, any kind of sport like that, you go and read the comments, and I guarantee you'll always find an armchair critic who'll be like, "Yeah, he needs
Yeah,
to do this more with the technique and this and that," and they won't last 2 seconds. So it made perfect sense, the fact that, based on his stature as well, it doesn't look like he's in peak physical martial arts condition. And he's like, "Oh, I'll be able to grade this, based on, the martial arts skills that I used to have back
yeah,
in the day." So I thought that was absolutely
yeah.
amazing.
Some
Again,
martial arts skills you've learned in some dodgy dojo, like from some guy who knows zero about martial arts.
yeah.
So in the comics, Razor Fist loses his other arm in the comics as well. That also gets amputated. So in the comics, do they cover how he then wipes his bottom?
Or does
Having
he
both
put a
arms
fork?
amputated.
Does he put a fork on the next one? Because the next one looks like a knife, isn't it?
Oh
It's
yeah,
like an
because
eating
if he's eating steak, he can hold it down. And yeah, I
knife.
mean,
Must have to be him going through his TSA in America when he's trying to travel. Literally, like, that metal detector always gonna go off.
yeah, I imagine he has ways of getting around that. I imagine he doesn't use airports like the rest of us.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah,
The perks of being a high class mercenary.
I guess eating would be hard. I mean, unless he's got like a little fork on his hand, then you can just. I mean, if the fork is as big as the blade is on the other hand, then the guy's in trouble. If it's a
Yeah,
little
big time.
fork, then he's going to be okay.
Good for gardening, sucks for eating.
Yeah, I mean, I imagine he needs somebody there to like change the attachments for him as well.
Well, with how these technologies are in these Marvel movies, he probably just can just say it. Arm changed. And it
But
just
you know something?
literally
If he was a nice guy, he could easily just go to the Wakandans and they'll probably make him a new arm. But he's not a nice guy, so it's not going to happen.
That's true.
It's not.
So yes, but I think one of the main things what I also, when I was looking at the comments online in regards to Shang-Chi, what people were talking about a lot, or who people were talking about a lot, was
The
um
Expanse is really good.
Tony.
Yeah,
Tony, is it Lung? Is that how you pronounce it?
yeah.
Lu.
Tony Leung and Chi Wei.
Yeah, they've been talking about him a lot. Like literally, apparently he's a very, very prominent figure in the Asian acting community world. So a lot of the comments I was reading there, people like, oh, I've been such a fan of him for years. It's good to see that, he's made it, like Hollywood has now recognized his talents and whatnot,
Yeah,
which I think is great. And it's great again that Marvel's doing something like this, because hopefully you'll get more actors from, other cultural backgrounds that is big, that's basically well
yeah.
respected in their field, in their community, who then gets to demonstrate those talents on the big screen. Because let's be real, you would have never known that that's like his first big, you know,
Uh,
global movie that he's done, because he doesn't look like you he's out of place
no,
anywhere.
no,
He
not
was
at all,
just
not at all. And so,
smooth from start to finish.
are you suggesting that we might see Amitabh Bachchan at some point in the MCU?
Well, depends what movie.
I guess it's possible if they do some kind of Indian-based MCU movie. I guess it could happen. But let's talk about Tony Leung's performance as the Mandarin. What I think he done really well is make the Mandarin this character who he was a villain, but he played it in a way in which, yes, you disliked him on a certain level, but then on another level, you could kind of feel the pain and the hurt which he was going through, which at times
You
made it.
didn't. You didn't.
No, I didn't know,
Exactly.
but
I did.
okay, okay, good for you with your. Why are you dressed like a giraffe today?
Because I'm feeling very festive.
Giraffes aren't associated with festivities, but okay. There is an Indian
Yeah.
actor in the Eternals, and yeah, and there is going to be some. I think he actually plays a Bollywood actor in the Eternals. So yeah, I think the Indians are finally stepping into the MCU. Yay! But I think what he does is, I mean, again, I haven't got a lot of sympathy for him in the movie, but what he does do is he does allow the viewer to kind of see things through his eyes. So you can understand his journey and the reasons why he's doing it. I don't agree at all the reasons as to why he's doing those things, but I know why he's doing those things. It's not just I'm a bad guy, this is why I'm doing it. There is rhyme and reason behind it for him through his perception.
Okay, I'll give my take on him, and once you finish,
I'm done. I'm
get
drinking
my
my water.
I'll get my 2 pennies in. So, last week after we watched it, literally when we did another podcast, and many people was like, oh, yeah, you love the bad guys. And we couldn't really elaborate on that because we couldn't speak about this, because we had said we had to wait, till this week so we could speak on it. But the reason why was because of what I'd seen. Based on that, here he is, a guy that's been alive for over 1,000 years, conquered everything. Literally, he could, if he so wanted to, he would have still been ruling the world. That's the bottom line. He then wanted to go and obviously, demonstrate his power by going after this mythical village city. And he came across Shang-Chi's mom, who put a whooping on him, even with his rings and everything and all his power. But the fight was so beautiful and so well choreographed that it went from being a fight to more like
A ballet.
a courting dance. Yes.
Yeah.
like a ballet. Literally, yeah, that's a perfect phrase for it. Literally, it's like a ballet. It was beautiful. Like every attack that he tried, he would counter it. So it's like literally, it kind of felt like it was therapy for him. Like he came and he had all this anger. He was he was fighting with Wing Chun, and she was basically using Tai Chi. So everything he came as a force, she was basically she wasn't even attacking him. She was more just like parrying everything that he was doing, just showing him like there's a different way.
Yeah.
And you can see during the fight that he was slowly changing during the fight.
I think
His
there's a reason
mannerism,
for. I think there's a reason for that as well.
everything.
I think it's probably the first time in years that he'd been humbled. I think he'd probably gone the
Yeah.
last 900 years just like kicking everyone's ass basically, and suddenly this beautiful woman appears and she's more powerful than him, and
There
he's
you
just
go.
like,
And I think
wow.
that's what also helps it because you know men love beautiful, powerful women. I know I do. So the fact that she was so beautiful, and at the same time she was just there, just like humbling him. Because you think about it, he's been around for over 1,000 years, and he's got no kids. He waited. So deep down, this guy was waiting for Mrs. Right. He was waiting for the right woman to come along. Which, again, now you look at the bigger picture, you can understand why when he went to go and attack the village when he believed he was doing it to go and save her, you could see why he's doing that. He's been around for over 1,000 years, didn't have no kids out there, didn't have 1,000 wives, and even though he was powerful and he could get everything he wanted, he basically saved himself for true love. And once he actually did that, and he actually got her, he gave up all his worldly possession in terms of his power. He gave everything up just like she did because they wouldn't allow them to go to her village, which again, it goes to show sometimes that it's hard to gain forgiveness from some people in society because though he was a bad guy at first, once he fell in love and he decided, you know what? I want to change my ways. He wanted to leave the world behind and go and just live in peace at her village with her, happily ever after, raise his family.
Yeah,
But her village
there's more
didn't
important
want
things
it.
out there than world domination.
Yeah. And that's silly that they didn't let him go in there, whatever, but that's what happened. So I can understand why when he felt like he was hearing voices that she was being held against her will there. He probably also was in denial because someone like him, he probably never went to go and get therapy after he lost her. So he was literally just like, yeah, they are holding her against her will. And knowing what he's been through, the power that he's wielded, it wouldn't be far fetched to believe that she didn't really die, that she was actually back home being held against her will.
Well, I,
So you love the woman that much. Of course, he's going to take on the world to bring her back.
well, I think
So
they
I
were
don't
quite
blame him.
just. I think they were quite justified in not letting him into Taolo because when he does come in, what does he do? He like releases that big thing which starts eating souls.
Manipi, that's a ridiculous argument. He done that because he believes that she's been held behind there. Had he gone in there with her, then he wouldn't be attacking that thing. He would have been in there happy with his woman and his kids. He was doing Tai Chi as a family. He
That
was doing
thing,
those what do you call that dance?
that thing knew exactly what type of character he was.
Yeah, but it wouldn't have had any weakness to play on. The fact that he had power and he gave up power, he wasn't a man who was power
It would have
hungry.
found a weakness. They
Shoulda,
knew
coulda, woulda,
what
man.
type of person he was, and that's why they wouldn't let him in because they knew he would be a threat at some point.
Manipi, any man that you see playing them dance games there with the family can't be such a bad guy.
Well, he obviously he was because he succumbed to his weakness. He's
because of pain.
taking little kids with him and being like, "Oh, you're going to help me avenge your mum. You're 8 years old, but I'm going to show you all this violence, and yeah, I'm going to traumatize you."
Yeah,
He's not
because
a good guy.
he's a good guy. He's showing the kids that listen. Sometimes don't care how much.
Comments: is he a good guy?
He's a good guy. Come on now, guys, in the comments, be real. He turned away. He gave up his power, decided to have a normal life. When his wife died, he came home with shopping bags. You know how hard it is. He spent 5p buying them Tesco bags there to bring home the shopping. Came home and his wife is there dead.
And that was his past catching up with him.
It's not necessarily catch up. It's because he stopped doing that.
No, that was his past. If he didn't have that past, then that wouldn't have happened. That's the point. That you can't leave your past. When you do bad stuff, you can't leave your past behind sometimes.
But he could have still remained that way if he chose to. He chose to not be that guy anymore. So why not just say, you know what? He done some bad things. Let's leave it be.
Comments, Manny, don't let Davie P look after your kids. That will never happen.
Yeah, right. Well, because
he's not coming anywhere near them with his bizarre moral compass. That's just
listen. If someone comes, you know, some Marvel villain comes and kills Manny P. Hey, I'm going with the hammer with the kids. I'm like, come on, Manny P. Juniors.
Bad uncle.
We're gonna go avenge Daddy.
Yeah, that's not happening. Just a few more points as well. Yeah, you've got some hot takes on the Mandarin. It's bizarre. I rarely want you to talk to somebody because I think these for you are therapy for some reason, and I think you're letting something out which is deep inside of you, festering. And yes, I don't know what that is because I'm not a qualified professional.
Well, I empathize with those bad guys in certain situations, you know, where you can see from their perspective.
I want to understand that.
It means I'm a people's person.
I want to ask you, who hurt you? Who hurt you? Who was she? Who hurt you? Or he? I'm not bothered. Who hurt you?
No one's hurt me.
We don't have to get into this now. We can do a separate podcast where we just explore all the time
the mind of David
and how it's led you to these hot takes about villains in the MCU.
We should do that actually. One of these days we'll do a podcast. Dissecting David P.
Just a few things, sorry. My brother actually thinks it was more Shaolin style Kung Fu than Wing Chun. Again, are we just like Clement on the bus going like, yeah, we're experts, we're going to grade what type of Kung Fu this is?
Well, at least we've got a better structure physically in terms of Clement that's just there giving it all and he doesn't know it. He can't even do a cartwheel.
Yeah, my brother says, well, he did not give up his powers. The 10 rings were always there. Yeah, so he
didn't use them, but he never used them. Like he said, had he had those 10 rings, those men would have never in a million years even think to come and talk smack to him.
The thing was mind talk. Yeah, it was duping him. It was duping him, but he was because of his weakness, he was allowing himself to be duped.
That's pain, Manny.
But this is the hubris of villains, because villains always think they can fix things, which they can't. It's like Thanos thinking he can fix the universe by deleting 50% of the population. It's this thing about not letting nature take its course and just thinking I can do everything, I can fix everything, and that's what it is. The road to hell is paved with good intentions. So his intentions are good. He wants his wife back, but he's going to end up in hell getting there.
I don't blame him.
Okay, well, this is why you should never be put in a position of power. You should never be given the red button for the nuclear devices or anything like that. I think it wasn't me who hurt him, and if I did hurt him, then good. Did you? Again, I don't know if I hurt him, but if I did, then good. I'm not going to hurt him again.
Yeah, man, it's them years. It's them years back in the day when we were at school and you used to tape X-Men for me, and you taped it with the adverts. And I had to force forward on the VCR the adverts. Yeah, that hurt me.
But you probably needed the exercise to get up and press the fast forward button. You should be thanking me.
That's true.
Yeah, but, and that's something. The organisation of 10 Rings was always there in the background. Like it never truly went away. Well,
he gave it up because had he not given it up, how would those men get to invade his compound? He would have had top-notch security for his family. He gave it all up.
I don't know. But they were still there. He still managed to put it back together once all the...
Yeah, once you have that 10 ring, you don't even... When you have that 10 ring, you don't need to go through no paperwork to have a corporate takeover. There's no voting. You just come in there, show one arm, and that's it. Everyone knows what time of day it is.
If you walk into an office and just show your arm like that, yeah, I'm gonna be worried.
Yeah, if I get them curtain rods ring like your brother said, put them on my arm and go in there, they'll know what time it is.
I will literally be like, "Who's this wanker?"
Security, another one. Guess he's just in Shang-Chi.
No, but I mean, but that's the thing, though. I mean, you've got an interesting take on the Mandarin, and I think it's the take the writers want a lot of the audience to have as well. They want us to look at things through his eyes. But at the same time, he ruined the life of his son and daughter. He was a bad dad.
Yeah, but Manny P, the reason why I think it works so well is because people can actually really relate to what they're seeing on screen, because so many times in real life you have people, parents who were great parents, and then something happened, whether it be they lost, the partner, or they may have lose their financial situation change, and they don't know how to process that and move forward in a healthy way.
So you turn your kids into murderers.
Well, forget the murder part. Look at the part of the fact that...
How can we forget the murder part? It's the most pertinent point of the point.
No, but he didn't. Technically, what he done was he trained his son so that his son would never, ever be weak.
That's not true. That's not the narrative of the movie.
What was he training his son for?
He literally sends him out to do an assassination. And
that's after he trained him.
Yeah,
he could have done it
himself. He
himself.
sends him out to do an assassination, which he doesn't carry through. Do you know what that is? That's grooming. That is literally what grooming is.
Yeah, he's grooming him to take over the 10 rings. He's grooming him to take over the 10 rings.
Yeah, but he's also grooming him to be a murderer. That is the definition of grooming. That's when social workers and stuff like that get involved. That is the definition of being a terrible human being. Grooming.
Oh, I would love to see that social worker there turning up at his house.
I mean, it wouldn't involve the social worker.
Child Protective
Services. I know a few social workers who probably handled themselves.
Against the 10 rings.
Oh yeah. They'll just like talk rubbish. I'm sorry, I was trying to say anything. Probably have to edit that bit out. I'll move on. He was also sexist and ignored his daughter.
I don't even think it's more sexist. I think it's more the fact that the daughter to him reminded him too much of his wife, and it was too hard for him to actually look at her, and he couldn't. This is just my weird take on it. I think he didn't want to teach his daughter to fight because he couldn't teach his daughter to fight the way the mom fought. The mom fought more Tai Chi, which is fluid. His style is what he taught his son, which is more aggressive, anger, rage. And I think maybe it's partly the pain of her being, resembling the wife so much. And maybe also it's a little respect he was paying to his wife, where he didn't want the daughter who looked like her, to fight like him.
So maybe
that's why is that? Why could he not do that, Manny?
Because then he respects both kids the same way, then wouldn't he? If he's saying,
no, not really.
My kids murderers,
no,
do it for both kids. He's not gonna do it for that reason. It was some kind of weird kind of pride, kind of male pride thing. He didn't train his daughter. That was the reason. And as you said, he didn't train his daughter because she looked too much like his mum. Well, tough. That's your daughter. Don't start making excuses and being weak about the entire thing. All he shows, despite being so powerful, is moments of weakness, one after another, which lead him to this path.
Yeah, because he was in pain. You're going like he was being a bad parent
while the wife was alive. They don't destroy the universe.
And lots of people do.
No, they don't. A minority do. Weak people who can't handle stuff because of their own arrogance and their own hubris, which forces them to want to change things. And that's what makes a villain.
But that's a wrong take to look at it,
Good
Manny P.
people work through things.
You can't say
and
because
they
the
get
man
to
is
the
in
other
pain,
end.
he's weak.
He was weak. He was mentally weak.
No.
He allowed himself to be duped by that weird thing. He trained his son to be an assassin. He ignored his daughter because she looked like his wife. Well, that's your daughter. Like, of course she's gonna like your wife, mate. Like, rope hair. Like, he shows weakness as powerful, and that's the story of the Mandarin. As strong as he is in terms of having the 10 rings, having this huge army behind him, he's still weak in here emotionally.
Yeah, because he's just
And
a
that's
man
tough
that just
being 1,000 years
loves.
old and not being mature.
He's just, if you notice, the Mandarin is someone who lived so long, he could have still continued, but all he wanted once he found true love was he just wanted to grow old and die. It said that. He said that. They said that in the story. So it's not like this is not something that was said. That's all he wanted. He didn't care about living eternally, or else he would have just continued doing what he was doing. He was quite happy to grow old and die with the woman he loved, just like how she gave up her probably eternity, eternal, youth and everything to grow old with him as well too. She gave up everything, and he gave up his rings. He kept them, but he gave them up. He couldn't have given them to someone else. Someone else would have used them and been probably worse than that.
How's that relevant? How's that relevant to the point I just made?
Well, it's relevant in the fact that you're saying that he's weak because
he shows moments of weakness which lead him down this dark path throughout the entire movie.
Well, he couldn't handle his pain. It's kind of like saying someone who
that is the definition of weakness. That is the definition of weakness.
That's not weak. That's just being hurt. You're in pain. It doesn't make you weak just because you don't handle it how someone else will.
Oh my God, I can't believe you're arguing this with me. You're arguing like basic comprehension with me.
So because of my point, strong people.
If you talk about it through a physical metaphor, strong people can handle pain better. Weak people can't handle pain better. That's why when you go to the gym, strong people can take lots of pain and do really heavy weights. The weaker people can't, but they build up to it. That's the definition of weak and strong.
Well, not all people who lift the big weights at the gym is because
it's a metaphor.
Yeah, but some of them doing it because they show it off. You might see a girl in there or a guy in there that they want to get their attention, and you start doing more than you can.
Again, you're changing the subject. You're going somewhere to not address my point. Stick
no,
but
that doesn't mean that's not the definition of being weak or strong. It just depends on how you handle a situation.
My God, that's what I mean. How you handle a situation differently.
But that doesn't mean that you're weak, man. It just means that that's just how it affects you. So because
you might watch
excuses. So wait,
you're making excuses. You're making excuses on something, and again,
you watch a football match and you're crying because the team won. No, but if you watch a match, right? Your team just won the championship. We're both celebrating, but your way of celebrating is you're crying. Mine is I'm just like, yeah, we won, happy, and go home. Does that make you weak because you're crying?
That's an irrelevant point because you're not in pain.
No.
This is a moment of happiness. Crying in that circumstance is fine because it's a moment of joy.
Oh, so if the narrative is different, then it doesn't mean that you're weak.
What's that got to do with being strong or weak?
The man was not weak. He was just hurt.
What's that got to do with your point? Was ridiculous. What's that got to do with being strong or weak?
Your point is ridiculous. He's not weak, Manny. He's hurt. The man is hurt. He lost the love of his life.
We'll get back to the movie in a second. I've just got to deal with this. What's that got to do? I don't understand. You're just making points for the sake of making points to just go around in a circle.
No, but you're saying that he's weak, but he's not weak.
Oh my God, he shows weakness throughout every single. Anyway, we're gonna have to knock some head and move.
He shows flaws.
To the next point.
Yes, he shows flaws. But Mandarin, I got your back. Don't care what Manny P says. He's the Duke.
Oh my God, so he shows flaws is just another word for weakness.
Yeah, but we all have flaws. Yeah.
Thank you, Jesus Christ. Right. So they go to a place called Taolao. I'm glad you finally admitted I'm right. So we go to a place called Taolao. Oh my God, we're going to have to really do this show one day where we just dissect your mental state. So they go to Taolao, and Taolao, I really like Taolao. It's like a lovely place. Love to go there. They keep people like the Mandarin out. great immigration strategy they have there. Now, we need to understand Tao Lao in the context of the multiverse.
Yeah, I wanted to touch on that. I noticed something with the Doctor Strange and that.
You're gone?
Oh, sorry. I thought you was going to continue. That's why I
No, when I'm
stopped.
nodding, that means go on.
Okay, so if you notice, Doctor Strange travels through the multiverse. When he does it, his thing it's more. I wouldn't. What would you call that? It's his way of traveling, like, or should I say, using portals. It's. I'm trying to think what kind of element to describe it as. It's not. Would you say it's more kind of like similar to fire? It's not lightning.
No, there is some the different types of magic. The colors they use do represent what type of magic it is. I don't know off the top of my head what type of magic it is exactly, but the colors are important in the MCU. Each color being used does signify a type of magic being used.
Well, it's not even just the color I was looking at. The way I look at it, like for what's the name of the village again? See, my brain has gone now.
Tao Lao.
Yeah, for Tao Lao. If you notice, it's water. It's water there on you used to go through those portals. Which water tends to go more like with their personality in the sense of their fighting style.
It's fluid.
Fluid. It's not aggressive. It's nothing like that. It's just liquid. It's just flowing. And that's what I noticed. I'm like, theirs is like water, whereas like Doctor Strange, which is the same thing, is. But I'm trying to think, what element would you say if we were going using them as elements like water, lightning? I'm not sure if it's more like an earthly one, but yeah, that's just what I noticed. I was like, it's different forms, but it's the same thing.
Yeah, I think you make a good point. So Tao Lao is in another dimension. So I'm wondering if it's actually like more like a pocket universe within our own universe. Kind of like it's been made to. It's not a separate timeline or a separate branch altogether. It's actually something that sits quite snugly within our universe, which you can just hop into. So, for example, the main MCU universe was to get destroyed. Tao Lao would get destroyed with it because it's kind of sits quite snugly into our universe, their universe.
I don't know. I kind of feel it's like I kind of feel like it's just outside. So it's like it's in between. So therefore, whatever happens, it won't really affect it because it's in its own space.
Yeah.
And it's like it was deliberately put there. So maybe, coming up, maybe with the Eternals coming up, we might get a little bit more explanation as to what's going on.
Yeah, so I've got a few comments. A few comments about Tao Lao. It connects to the Earth, but it's different. So yeah, I think we just need to work out, don't we, how that connection manifests itself. Do you feel the way they describe Tao Lao and the dragon, for example, the heart of the dragon, it has a Iron Fist Kunlun feel to it? It does actually. They mention it. I think that's probably more evidence that Iron Fist and Luke Cage isn't part of the MCU canon anymore, because they seem to be just using all of that story for Shang-Chi now.
Better, yeah, because did you ever watch that Iron Fist, the series?
Yeah, it was all right. It wasn't amazing, but it wasn't.
Oh my god, man, if he was bad. I watched about 5 episodes and then I was like, no, I couldn't go any further.
Oh, fair enough. So
I think the comics is probably much better than the actual how they relate it on TV. The TV series to me was just like,
Oh, the comics are really good. What makes the comics really good is the dynamic between Luke Cage and Iron Fist. They have a really good dynamic. But back onto the movie. Could I just say, please, Liverpool FC to the MCU has been confirmed. The Liverpool FC do exist within the MCU, so it is official. Liverpool FC do exist. Jurgen Klopp is probably part of the MCU, as is Mo Salah, Virgil van Dijk, and Alisson Becker. They're all in the MCU.
there's a lot though that it was a thug that they actually used to actually introduce Liverpool FC inside there, because
Well, I think it's more of a case of a well-known team as opposed to a team which currently lies 16th in the league. But we digress. I loved the cameo from Ben Kingsley, Trevor. I didn't.
Ben Kingsley.
Sorry, Sir Ben Kingsley.
He
Mr.
doesn't like it
Cameo.
when people just call him that.
I didn't know he was going to be in the movie. Did you know he was going to be in the movie?
Nope, I didn't even expect that. You know,
No,
because
I was talking to my good friend Mr. Cato yesterday, who has a far more sensible take on the Mandarin. And he was he unfortunately saw it for the first time yesterday. He is great. Morris is great as well. You actually sent me a really cool article about Morris. But he'd actually seen on Instagram before we went to the cinema, like a picture of Ben Kingsley in the Mandarin. So it was ruined for him, basically. The cameo.
oh,
Yeah, he knew at some point Ben Kingsley was going to pop up. But I just loved it. I think it offered great comedic. Just released some of the tension in some of the scenes. But there's more to Morris than meets the eye. I'll let you go on about that.
who's Morris?
It's the little furry thing that hasn't got a face.
Oh, yes. Yeah, that was quite interesting. Like, literally, it's just like, oh, he wanted to go home. But the funny thing is the fact that, Sir Ben Kingsley, fake Mandarin, wasn't even aware that it was actually a real creature. He thought he was actually seeing things. He thought it was like something make-believe in his mind.
Yeah, so, yeah, but you sent me an article, though. That creature does actually, it is taken from Chinese folklore.
Chinese, folklore.
Yeah, so it is something which it kind of represents. What did it represent? It kind of represents like just kind of being in a kind of state of not confusion, but just not quite knowing where you're going because it has no face. So I think
like you're trying to find who you are, where you're going.
Yeah, because it hasn't got a face. That's the way it looks because it doesn't know where it's going. So I really like that they picked this out from Chinese folklore, and I thought the lions looked amazing as well.
Yeah.
So
they actually did I think everything again, just like with
they were gorgeous.
Most of the Marvel things, what they actually do, they keep in all the right notes, because if you look at Shang-Chi, it was based on what we know. When you watch a lot of these, if you watch a lot of these Asian films, whether it be kung fu, just in general, they don't have unnecessary love, like affection scenes, like kissing, things like that, unless it's necessary. They're very cultural people and respectful, so they like things to be that way, which is why, in the scene when Shang-Chi, when he had to fight his father, you could see he didn't want to fight his father because, your father, your parents are held to very high esteem, in your culture. So it was like a big thing for him. And, it basically took the fact that it's to save the world. literally, he had to. That's why he was actually going to do it. And even while he was doing it, he could see his father's pain, but at the same time, also goes to your point in the sense where he kind of thought his father was weak in the sense that he abandoned them and they were still there, but he was so busy in his own pain, of the loss of his wife, that he didn't actually take notice of them or whatever. And you could see, which again, it goes back to what we're talking about with the acting was on point. Nice is a nice word of using. Yeah, nice is like, yeah, it was nice. The fact that you could see even during the fight when he said that to his father, you could see like it actually had an impact on him. Like, I think he actually came to that realization at that moment, like, wow, I haven't been a good father, not because I'm a lousy person, but because I've just been so blinded by my own pain at losing my wife that I'm forgetting that that's their mom. And they also lost their mom. And I was supposed to be the one that would protect and look after them. So I think it probably hit him even triple hard then, because he would have think that, one, he wasn't a good father in that moment. Two, he wasn't a good husband to his wife for not being able to actually be a good parent with her being away. So he kind of felt like he done so much. And then to hear that from your child, to say that, we needed you and you weren't here, absolutely heartbreaking for the kids. And you could actually see that. And you could actually see on his face as well, too. So I thought that was absolutely amazing. And even when he had the opportunity to actually where he could have killed his father, he didn't. He was just like, you know what, take these rings, like, if that's what you want. But I'm trying to tell you, was still trying to reach out to him, like a father, a child to their parent. But again, he was so, I don't think it's hubris. I just think he was just in so much denial and he was just in so much pain that, and his mind by then, he's being controlled in a sense that, the monster behind there was so into him that he couldn't actually escape from it. So when he's there telling him like, no, 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 when his son's trying to tell him, look, mom is not behind there. I wish she was, but she really isn't there. The monster knew, kind of saw that he was going to lose him, so it pulled it back him and pull him back in by saying, "Yeah, come and save me. I need you." And he literally just jumped up, went and attacked blindly, and then he literally like released the monsters. But in the end, he kind of made amends for what he done in the sense of his sacrifice. But it was a beautiful and sad story for everyone involved. Like, I mean, we like to see our heroes get their powers and go through certain trials and tribulation and then grow. But it was kind of hard at the expense of losing both your parents in this, and especially when it was such a well put together story. If it wasn't great, then you'd be like, okay, yeah, the parents ain't really that great of character, so it's fine. You can move on from it. But they were great. All of the main characters on screen was absolutely amazing.
Yeah, so I just want to say as well, I think you need to be more respectful of Morris. You're talking about kissing. Morris can't kiss, and I'm sure that's very painful for Morris. And I think we need to take that into account.
Yeah, Morris can't even smile. No facial expression.
No, Morris can't kiss. It's terrible. It's terrible for Morris.
But
I
he
think
knows how to play dead well.
he
That
does.
was
Yeah.
actually
To be fair,
hilarious.
you can do that. But I think there's a few questions that we need to ask. So we need to talk about Wong. We've done the first stage, just going to the movie, but now let's actually talk about what's going to move forward with the MCU. We need to talk about Wong. Wong plays a very interesting role in this movie, which I think is it's gone under the radar a bit of a few people. I'm getting the impression Wong's actually going to be a massive character in the MCU moving forward.
He is, but I think they're probably doing like what they did with oh my god, what is his name? How am I forgetting his name?
How are you?
Captain. Bucky, not Bucky. Oh my God, Falcon. I think they're gonna do like what they did with Falcon, where they slowly build him up until he gets, probably he's gonna get his own series or something. But I think it's right how they're doing it. You don't just rush it with him because Shang-Chi wasn't really about him.
No,
So
so
you couldn't have given him too much of a bigger role. So, like you said, they gave him enough where his presence was actually noticed, but not enough where it's overshadowing the whole Shang-Chi experience.
yeah, so I think we need to talk about what exactly he's doing, because he was in Macau, he was fighting. I think Wong is on par with Doctor Strange, and I can actually see a point where Wong actually surpasses Doctor Strange. And I'm going to get into this as a little theory. Which I was actually discussing with Dowdy about 11 o'clock last night as well. So Wong is in Macau and he's fighting Abomination. And at first you think, what's Wong doing fighting Abomination? That's just mad. Why is he signed up for like a grudge match with him? And then it turns out actually Wong's kind of almost taken Abomination under his wing. And it looks
like rehabilitating him.
Yeah. And he's like, he's almost like he's training Abomination to be a better fighter. Because he does this cool move where he ends up making Abomination to knock himself out. And Wong is a party animal as well who likes to fight and steal other people's drinks. This is true.
Without paying.
Yeah, probably.
That's
he just says, I'll get my mate Abomination onto you. But it seems as though he takes him back to the raft after he's finished with him, after he's given him. So for some reason, Wong is hanging out at the raft. And there's lots of people we know who are at the raft currently, like Baron Zemo is at the raft.
Yeah.
And obviously, we've seen Valentina pop up as well. And she's obviously got links to the raft when she's building her team. Exactly. Thank you. Is this more reference to Abomination eventually becoming a Dark Avenger or a Thunderbolt at some point down the line? And actually, is Wong playing a role in putting this team together? What I'm actually getting onto is the concept of a Marvel Illuminati, which is something that existed in the comics, where you had some of the main characters such as Professor X, Doc Strange, Reed Richards basically became the Illuminati of the MCU, and they basically elevated themselves above everybody else, and they started making decisions about like heroes and villains within the MCU, and they decided Hulk's too dangerous, let's fly him off the planet against his will. And they started making these decisions, and they almost, saw themselves as kind of elevated. Again, they were arrogant, and they used their kind of know-how to kind of start making these decisions regardless of what everybody else felt. And you see Wong had this relationship with Captain Marvel and Bruce Banner, who's been all the way depowered now to just Bruce Banner, kind of having a chat with them about stuff, which all seems very innocent. But I wonder if actually now Wong's having conversations at a kind of higher level about what happens next.
Well, you know what my take is, what I feel he may have been doing with Abomination. If you remember from the Incredible Hulk film, when Abomination became Abomination in the end, like literally he was just
10+ years.
Yeah. He was just literally just a monster. Like the humanity was gone from him.
Yeah.
So I think maybe what Wong has done is Wong kind of rehabilitated him, actually brought back his human side. So he's still, kind of like with Hulk, where there's like, where Bruce Banner in Avengers, Infinity Wars. Infinity Wars is the last one, isn't it?
Endgame is the last one.
Yeah, in Endgames, where he's now subconsciously he's now able to, he can speak, so he's in Hulk form, but he's now he's able to talk. He can do a lot of things, like he's in control. He's not like two separate individual. I think that's the kind of same thing what's happening with Abomination, where he's no longer just a monster. Now he's training him where the human side is actually of his brain is back in control, where he can talk. He's now wearing pants or shorts. I don't know what that those
which is a
things were.
big step up for anybody getting rehabilitated.
Yeah, which
Wearing
means that
trousers.
he's gaining some kind of humanity in a way back. The fact that he realized, okay, I can't prance around naked. It's not really cool. People are kids is out there. Don't nobody need to see that.
Yeah, I'm glad we can win this bit.
The shorts is still a bit too much. It's got that 1960s footballer look. That was too short.
Yeah, it must be hard to buy clothes of his size, in all fairness.
Well, Wong, they're magicians. They should be able to conjure up something.
I don't know. I just don't think ASOS do stuff that size.
Yeah, that's true. Well, they need to do something. Yeah, the last thing you need now, you're in the temple there trying to like squat or sit down and pray or meditate, and you're seeing abomination hanging out. Don't nobody need to see that there, before mealtime or whatever.
So you've already made the point that there's no wasted energy in this movie. Every kind of scene plays a purpose. Wong is there with Abomination for a reason, and I don't think
it's training. I think
it's training,
training Abomination.
But obviously, I think it is though something to do with like a Dark Avengers storyline. Or another thing which Dowdy mentioned to me as well was they might set up a potential kind of like a West Coast Avengers team, which acts almost as like an Avengers B team, potentially. Where if the proper Avengers are indisposed, well, they've been turned to zombies, then they call upon this team, for example.
Yeah, but question.
So Wong takes Abomination to the Fight Club, gets people to bet on Abomination, but Wong bets on himself. Wong is a badass. Wong is a badass. Wong is actually fast becoming my favorite MCU character. I'm not joking either.
Well, Kate did the same thing too, didn't she?
Yeah, well, she bet against her buddy. Yeah, she bet against her buddy Shang-Chi.
Yeah. And she was just so nonchalant with it that she didn't even put her winnings before she came in the room. She literally came in the room with him there, beating up. And she's there stuffing it in her little purse thing there, yeah, we won.
You know what she was doing? She was being real. She looked at the opponents and she thought, friendship aside, I think this person's going to win.
Yeah.
But
it was absolute. I think I'm actually going to watch it a third time because I loved it that much.
Yeah, and another thing as well, like, why is it Wong doing all of this stuff and not Doctor Strange kind of going out there? I know Wong is a very capable number 2 or deputy, but it's not with the trailer of Spider-Man where Doctor Strange seems to be a bit out of sorts, and it's actually Wong telling Doctor Strange, "Don't you do that spell for Peter Parker." It almost feels as though Wong kind of taking a bit more. Maybe I'm reading too much into it, but it feels as though Wong.
What you're saying isn't. But what you're saying isn't far fetched, because think about it. Wong has been practicing magic longer than Doctor Strange anyway. In general, it's just because Doctor Strange is just Doctor Strange why he's gotten the notoriety. But in terms of seniority, Wong would be more senior than him anyway.
He's the Strange is the Sorcerer Supreme. Strange is the man in charge.
Yeah, but in terms of when you're going as in terms of experience, Wong has had longer training than him.
Yeah.
So therefore, Wong, even though Wong is like his he's number 2, Wong is qualified enough and capable enough where he can go out and do whatever anyway, because Wong is just because he's not the Sorcerer Supreme, but he's powerful enough where he can go out and do a lot.
Exactly, and that's my point. It feels like Wong's kind of playing his own game now. He's like, Strange is going to do what Strange is going to do, and I'm going to do what I'm going to do to make the universe a better place. And where was Strange? Strange didn't appear to be at. He didn't appear to be at. Oh my God, at the Sanctum when they went back in the in credit scene. So it feels like Strange at the Sanctum in New York, where it's all cold and covered in snow and ice, and Wong is back there. Like, why they? It just seems like Wong is very much kind of in control. And I think this is going to play into stuff a bit more further down the line. I think She-Hulk. I've heard a really good theory that Bruce Banner might be depowered as well, because obviously we've got She-Hulk starting next year, and in the comics, Jennifer Walters, Bruce Banner's cousin. She becomes She-Hulk because she's ill. Something happens to her, and they need a blood transfusion.
Yeah, get a blood transfusion with her. Yeah.
And people theorized, but what if he's kind of transfused all of the Hulk blood into his cousin to save her life, and he's kind of lost a lot of that kind of Hulk power because it now exists within Jennifer Walters. I'm not saying I agree with that theory, but it was an interesting theory I heard, and I think it's worth putting out there.
Well, it wouldn't make sense unless you're going to completely wipe out the first Hulk movie with Eric Bana. Because remember, in the first Hulk movie with Eric Bana, the reason why he also was able to
that was not canon, by the way.
Oh, so that doesn't count then?
That was not canon. Okay. The only one that's canon is the Ed Norton one.
Ed Norton.
Yeah.
Then I don't know how they'd explain that then, because I thought that was a good take on how we became Hulk in the first one, where it basically said that his father was actually, injecting those things into him, his mom, and himself. So therefore, he had like those gamma. His DNA was already kind of altered. So when he was hit by the gamma wave, it basically just sped up something that was already there and mutated it.
Yeah. So, yeah, that's a good point. Another thing we have to discuss as well is, what are the 10 rings?
Yeah.
We never really get into this in the movies, never really explained. In the comics, the 10 rings, which are actual rings which are in your fingers, like proper Mr. T bling kind of thing.
Pirates / dart players, yep.
Yeah.
Old school Caribbean men.
Maybe She-Hulk takes place during Shang-Chi, and absolutely, maybe it does. We're not sure of the exact timeline of when this movie takes place, because Banner's arm is still in a sling, but maybe Banner's arm is now just permanently rendered useless after he snaps. Yeah, maybe he's got to permanently keep it in a sling. So maybe this does kind of fall at least very closely to the point where Jennifer Walters becomes She-Hulk. He's going to be paid by Tatiana Maslany, who's a great actress. I'm just going to put that out there. But in the comics, the 10 rings is basically ancient alien tech. But there seems to be a beacon in the rings. What do you think the beacon is? And in the comments as well, what is the beacon summoning?
Or who? Maybe it could be Galactus.
I did think about Galactus. I did. That was actually one of my first thoughts. But then I was thinking, why? Galactus is the eater of worlds. He literally eats worlds. Why? I think it is possible, but why would there be a beacon? It'll be like a lunch bell for him.
Yeah, which would signify. Well, when you have a lunch bell or an alarm when it's time for you to do something, right? Which means that something is ready. So maybe now, with everything that's happened to the Earth, with all those cosmic powers that's been going around Earth, maybe the Earth has been like a fruit where it's just now ripe with enough energy.
Because of all the snaps.
Yeah, for consumption for something like Galactus.
Yep.
We are going to be making a Silver Surfer movie.
This is a good theory as well. The makers of the rings, more dragons. On the new Rockstars channel, one of the guys there has got a theory that the 10 rings are actually rings which fit on the claws of a dragon. So when they go into a human, because they're quite big, they have to go on the forearm. But obviously, when they're on the dragon, they can just go on their little dragon fingers.
Question.
Mm-hmm.
Why are dragons walking around with rings on their fingers?
Because dragons like bling.
Can you imagine that there? Dragons going out there like, yeah, it's Friday night, I'm gonna pick up some dragon chicks there, like, let me get my bling on. Got your
Dragons
bling
like
bling.
But dragons do like bling, don't they? Because in all the kind of dragon folklore, they always sitting on mounds of gold.
Gold. Yeah, true.
And the dragons in the MCU are, or at least in the comics, they are a bit more intelligent. There's actually like a race of alien dragons, which are very advanced. So they could have rings. They're not dragons in the sense we understand dragons. They're like an intelligent, advanced species.
That's a good point.
Yeah. So like how we were discussing how in the last episode we done how we got to understand zombies within a different context, within the MCU context, we have to understand dragons within the MCU context as they're not just being like mythical lizardy type creatures who breathe fire. They're actually like quite intelligent, advanced beings, and there's like an entire like civilization of them lurking somewhere.
Yeah.
So yeah, I think that's possible that maybe the rings were created by those dragons. Another thought as well is we got the Eternals movie coming up, and that beacon could be linked to the Celestials. That could be some kind of beacon to the Celestials saying stuff has gone down on planet Earth, like with all the snaps and stuff. You guys need to get your like asses in gear and get back to Earth. And obviously that's
stop watching and start acting now. Like
yeah. Stop watching Netflix. Switch that stuff off. Get down here. And the Eternals movie does seem to be based around the Eternals coming back to Earth. So what if those rings are actually linked to the Eternals movie in the sense that that's the beacon, one of the beacons that says to the Eternals, the Celestials, sorry, I always get those two mixed up, Celestials, saying to them, come back to Earth because stuff is going down here and you need to, because there's basically different members of the Celestials. There's one that's called the Analyzer, there's one that's called the Judge and whatnot. And so the Analyzer goes down there and he'll basically go there with his Excel spreadsheet and basically analyze and basically, put together facts and figures about what's happening on the planet to help them, for example, the Judge Celestial decide whether this civilization deserves to carry on living or whether they do some kind of natural disaster event to wipe out this civilization. So maybe that was their beacon to say, like, look, stuff's gone down here. Like, there's been snaps and all sorts going on Earth. You guys need to come down here and reevaluate what your opinion is.
Yeah, maybe it's kind of like a black box. Like a black box on a plane where it's recording everything, all the data, like he says. And then once it's time now, it feels like, okay, going to send out a beacon for them to come now. They'll come, analyze all that information, like you said, look at it and said, okay, well, this civilization is getting too carried away. They're doing this, they're doing that. Okay, we need to reboot.
Yeah. So my brother says, well, I think in kind of dispute of my point, I think we would have seen an Eternal in Shang-Chi. It's a good point. But maybe they didn't want to give the game away too much straight away. If you had an Eternal in Shang-Chi, you'd automatically make that link between the rings and potentially the Celestials. But I think maybe not having an Eternal in Shang-Chi, kind of, number one, it kind of keeps the mystery there. Number two, maybe they just want to debut the Eternals in the Eternals movie.
Yeah. Sorry. Or I don't know.
You seem stressed out by this question. It seems like you're going to open up a glass of whiskey and be like, "Oh, I don't know what this."
You got Shang-Chi there, Hulk with one little arm. You got the guy there, with no arms now. He's going to have a fork on one hand, How will he?
He's still got one arm in the MCU. I want to point out in the comics
Yeah,
he hasn't got any.
yeah. In the comics, he's lost an arm. He got dragons around there with bling bling. I mean, oh, it's too much. What do I do?
You see, you do genuinely seem to be a bit stressed out.
No, it's like there's, you're trying to work. There's too much variables to all of these different theories that we have. And I think we're not going to know more until we start. But the funny thing is, it's like each movie we watch and think we're going to get some more answers. It leads to more questions. And you're thinking, this one will be it. That one will be it. I think probably maybe it will be maybe another 2 years before we start getting to put a lot of things together based on the movies that's coming out, the series that's coming out that we'll be able to link a lot of things with. Because now we have to start linking what happens in certain series to certain events that's happening in the MCU. Like now we know that it's because of Loki or Evie that caused the whole multiverse.
Yeah.
So now we have to watch other stories to see what will lead to what. We saw at the end of Falcon and Winter Soldier, we saw second Captain America, John Walker. He's now being turned into the US agent, who's now possibly going on to, is it Thunderbolt?
Well, we don't know. I think it's Thunderbolts, but I think he could end up potentially on the same team as Abomination.
Yeah, so
I'm pretty sure Abomination and US agents were both in Thunderbolts at one point. So I'm wondering if actually Wong is kind of working with Valentina to actually put this group together for some reason. Maybe Wong has seen that Doctor Strange isn't acting kind of totally rationally, and he's thinking, I might need a failsafe at some point to take out Doctor Strange at some point.
Yeah, I think in terms of even with Doctor Strange, I think we'll know more exactly about Doctor Strange's mindset and what's going to happen with him when Doctor Strange 2 gets released.
Yeah, so my brother thinks Galactus is the better theory. I think may see where this is going in the post credits of the Eternals movie. Yeah, I think the Eternals movie on the whole is going to open up so much, because I think the Eternals movie as well, I'm hoping it might be an explanation as well for how they introduce mutants into the MCU as well. I think it's going to be huge, the Eternals movie.
That's a lot of the theories that I'm seeing that people's speaking of. They're saying, I hope the Eternals will actually explain mutants. Therefore, the X-Men can come in. All people is talking about is the relaunch of X-Men and how it will be done.
Even I thought it was going to be an X-Men reference, possibly in Shang-Chi. I was convinced of it. I just lulled myself into believing that. God damn it. But yeah, and then there was the other cutscene as well, where Shang-Chi's sister, Xialing, she doesn't actually dismantle the Ten Rings organization. She actually takes it over. Again, that's very similar to the storyline of kind of Iron Fist as well, where the sister takes over the organization her dad had created.
Right. She looks like, in the end, it kind of like she's more becoming like her daddy than her.
Yeah, after all that.
Brother. And after all that there, literally, yeah. Like she just wants the power. He just wants a quiet life and just, he just wants to park cars.
And she's
karaoke.
And she's familiar with the underworld as well, kind of having run like a fight club before. So it seems to be a natural fit for her. And she's already got the respect of all of the Ten Rings guys because they've seen her fight in Tao Lao and and shown that she can properly look after herself.
Yeah, but to be fair, I don't think she's really I don't think she's even a bad guy, because I think maybe at some point we'll probably get to explore more about the relationship between her and Wong. because obviously he's connected to her.
Do you think?
The fact that he was at that fight club, nothing
Oh, of
happened
course,
there.
yeah, of course, yeah. It's a good point. Yes,
So
they do.
I think,
Yeah. So
there's probably more going on that we actually know about. Maybe there's a bigger war coming, and Wong and her, they're preparing these, the Ten Ring organization to actually protect the Earth.
well, these bigger wars continually they keep on being referenced in the MCU. So you've had like Monica Rambeau being taken up to space because there's something really bad happening up there. Apparently, Valentina keeps on saying like recruiting people and saying like, well, there'll be some crazy stuff happening, and the Black Widows versus the Ten Rings. So potentially you could have Yelena maybe either working with the Ten Rings or working against the Ten Rings. It depends if Valentina's working with Wong or not. Maybe there's two different branches of recruitment taking place, which are eventually going to cross paths with each other. Maybe we are going to have a Dark Avengers versus Thunderbolts, or West Coast Avengers versus Dark Avengers kind of thing taking place. And it happens in intelligence communities. You end up with lots of different kind of agencies who appear to all be working towards the same goal, but then the way they want to achieve that goal ends up differing, and they end up at loggerheads with each other.
Yeah, but it's amazing. I mean, it just kind of portrays exactly how authority in America is, isn't it?
Yeah.
You'll have all these different bodies, like you'll have the FBI, DEA, CIA, Secret Service. You have
NSA.
all these different, NSA. And they're all doing that. All these different organization, and they're all within the same battle.
Yeah, but then they end up crossing paths and and stuff like that. So I think in the background there's something kind of murmuring about kind of what there's a bigger threat coming, and there is like a team being built in the background, which is going to. And with the What If episodes, we've seen that Marvel are now willing to do some dark stuff if push comes to shove. So
Galactus, I think it's probably that.
You're going Galactus, yeah. I think Galactus is a good bet. And
the Silver Surfer, because they are going to be making a new Silver Surfer movie. I actually saw that on one of these sites. They were talking about it.
Okay, I'll double check that. But yeah, I mean, I'd love to see Norrin Rad back in the actually in the MCU. It was one of my favorite characters in the 90s. He's got a cool look. But yeah, I think there's plenty to discuss and get our teeth into regarding this. But I think we've near enough covered everything there is to talk about Shang-Chi. If there's anything, there is stuff we've missed, obviously, but I think we'll be here for like 5 hours.
Yeah, one thing I have to mention in there, which I have to pay, like we said, that Shang-Chi pay homage to so many different, like genres of films, things like that, and it also paid homage to one of the greatest animated series, Dragon Ball Z. When Kate was talking to her friends at the end, she was like, saying yes, and he saved the world, and he flew up and he did this super Kamehameha. I was like, oh my god, Dragon Ball Z reference right there. And I didn't remember it the first time. It's when I actually watched it the second time. I heard it. I was like, oh my god, how could I have missed that? And then I thought, yes, all the Dragon Ball Z fans out there are just going like, yes, we're there, we've made it. Like, because it literally did look something like that, like a big super Kamehameha, Dragon Ball Z reference. So yeah, that was, it was great. It ticked all the boxes. And for anyone who hasn't seen it, even though, to be honest,
if you haven't seen it, why are you watching this?
Yeah, but we haven't really giving detail, or we're spoiling everything. We just talk about the movie generally and different things. So you can still go and watch it and enjoy it. If you've seen it already and we've spoken about stuff that you think, I might want to go watch that to see, I might actually be able to see if that was the story or that's the case or not.
Yeah,
Go ahead and again, I mean, I'm really glad that, this movie got the same respect and got the same support as, just like I love the support that everyone gave Black Panther, just like they did with all the other Marvel movies. So I'm so glad that, this is like the first, Asian Marvel superhero movie. And I'm so glad that it's breaking records, and, I hope it continues to do so. And, please just go out and support it. Like,
yeah,
we just love good quality.
100%. I was expecting a good movie. Shang-Chi, I thought it would be a nice MCU movie. It'll be enjoyable, and yeah, it'll be like just another enjoyable MCU movie. But instead, I got something. It exceeded my expectations, and it was actually ended up being a very enjoyable experience, and more so than usual. And it had a slightly different, much like Black Widow, it had a slightly different feel to previous MCU movies. So I think we're entering phase 4 now, and I think each phase, I think now we look back, does have a different feel in the movies. And I think phase 4 is kind of, I'm not sure what that feel is just yet, but it does feel as though, phase 4 is going to have a very different feel to the phases before, which is good, because it would get boring if all the phases were the same. They do have to change things up and visually make things look differently, have to feel of each movie be a little different without losing its soul. So I'm glad they're doing that.
Yeah, not just touching on that whole same phase 4 thing, it's really sad just in general for, the family of Chadwick Boseman, with his passing in general. It's also sad in terms of the products that we could have gotten had he still been there, based on that, because I think it would have been real interesting to see, the Wakanda sagas and how they link up with all these other stories, going forward.
Yeah.
But obviously now they're gonna have to go in a slightly different direction based on everything, as there's no plans of recasting him. So
yeah, it would be nice to see Chadwick and Simu share screen time together and do some fighting against other villains. I just want to make one.
Yeah, sorry, Manny.
I was going to say, I want to make one last quick point. I think behind the scenes, I'm going to use a pro wrestling analogy. I think behind the scenes of what's going on in the MCU, within the MCU though, I think potentially there's going to be like lots of different factions potentially. It's going to be a bit like New Japan Pro Wrestling. Where you've got like Bullet Club, Chaos, LIJ, and Suzuki-gun. And essentially you've got all these different factions, and they're all existing or trying to coexist or going against each other. I think it might be something similar to the MCU, where there's going to be lots of different factions potentially being made in the background, and they're going to try and coexist, but sometimes that's going to break down and they're going to end up going against each other.
Which we've had in the comics. We've seen that in the comics, like, X-Men versus
Avengers.
X-Factor, X-Men versus Avengers, so yeah. But I mean, another thing I just want to touch on as well, I mean, I'm really happy, with, just like I said, with the support and the response and how successful Black Panther was, and equally the same for Shang-Chi. And the reason why we're saying that is because too many times in the past, when you've had movies where they've had minority characters or minority actors playing characters, they don't really get the shine that they deserve. They just get little small bit moments on screen. Now you're seeing that you can actually give a black character an entire movie, and it will be successful because it's not just going to play in a stereotype where you won't be able to relate to it because you're not from that background. You'll still be able to take something away from it and you'll enjoy it just like everyone else. But, when you see someone from a particular race enjoying, like, for instance, now you'll see Chinese, Asian people in general just enjoying Shang-Chi. They're enjoying it because they feel proud that now they're actually seeing their culture and someone with their face being portrayed in a powerful way. Just like when you see Thor, we're all like super excited. We see Thor, Iron Man, we're all excited. Nothing was sweeter than when you saw, Thor turned up in Wakanda. Literally, in the battle. Like, that was just absolutely amazing. It's the same thing as well here too. So, I'm just glad that we're actually able to, we're alive to actually get to witness all of this, and all the other movies coming forward too. And just equally, we're going to be shining about Eternals when it comes out, just like we are about these movies. So let's just enjoy it.
I think what it does is people, and again, they're minorities, but they're minorities in a Western American sense. Obviously, they're not minorities in their own countries, but
you're right.
It reminds minorities who live in like the UK and America that often the way, and it has gotten a bit better, obviously, from like the 80s and the 90s, but it reminds us that we can be heroes, and sometimes you can watch stuff so much and it impacts your own life because you think, well, we're not really heroes in anything we see on TV, so that means we've got to be side characters in life as well.
Yeah.
And it can kind of have that subconscious effect on you. But by doing things like Shang-Chi and Black Panther, it reminds us that, we can be the main people as well.
Yeah, I love that. Yeah, it's absolutely beautiful.
In any walk of life, whether you're like working in a car sales place or, or you're working for a Secret Service, you can still become the main person.
Exactly. It takes you out of that mindset from pigeonholing yourself, thinking you can't reach the pinnacle of success in that field. It makes you know that, what, I can do anything and I'll be successful, even if it's just based on a character that you see on TV.
Yeah. It's like there used to be like that trope, wasn't there, that, in a lot of programs where, the black character was only there to be killed at some point. That was like their role in the TV show, to fulfill that role of being killed at some point, so that can then have like an emotional moment, which then makes the hero,
Yeah.
Exactly. And it's just moving away, for example, Indians are always either portrayed as kind of like, like a weak-minded professor.
Taxi driver.
Yeah, or a taxi driver. It's either we're a genius or we're driving taxis. But like everything, we occupy every single kind of like place in society, and it's good that, whether it be good or bad, we occupy those places in society as well, and it's good that that's finally being reflected in these movies.
Love it.
So, is there anything else you want to say? Because I'm actually starving.
No. I think we've covered it all. I'm glad you all tuned in us hour 45 minutes. But it's been fun. From me and Manny P disagreeing about.
I think my brother.
You're being weak right now, saying that you're hungry.
Yeah, I am being weak. Yeah, right. I know when to admit it. That's the difference. I can admit my weaknesses. You just kind of gloss over them. Oh, I'm hurting.
Yeah, I don't think you're weak. I think you're hurting. Right now. You're hurting for food.
Hurting for food.
Yeah.
It's not my heart that hurts. It's my stomach that hurts.
That's what I'm gonna use next time. Someone say, "You're weak. You're hungry." I'm like, "No, I'm not weak. I'm just hurting for food. I'm just hurting for some KFC right now."
I think my brother got a bit scared when we were arguing. I think my brother doesn't realise is that me and you do this all the time.
Yes. Come on.
We
Come on,
can't
Kay.
believe
We
just
did
go out. It's fine.
yeah, we did when since we're like 12, 11, 12.
Yeah.
You know, and now
Yeah.
we're what, 60, 70? So, you know, it's not going to change.
Yeah, nothing's changed from when we were 12 years old. You know, we used to argue back then. We still argue now. It's fine. It's fine.
And I
We
won.
actually quite enjoy it.
But I'll tell you all something funny, though, guys, before we go. So last week when we went to watch the movie, so, you know, we got there because Manny P's a stickler for timekeeping. So I made sure I was on time. He was late. You know, we went. We got to the cinema. We got there. The movie was starting at 5:30.
5:30, yes.
Yes, we were outside. We did our little pre, show, vlog. And we went inside, So I was like, oh, we'll probably sit around and wait to go in 5:30 because it's not going to start until 5:30. The trailers will start till 6 o'clock. Many people was like, no, let's go in. So I was like is that what you say the right term now? The usher who was collecting our tickets before we go into the directors to the screen. I said to him as a joke, I said, my God, he's extra early, isn't he? I said, we're super early. I said, I'm pretty sure we'd probably go in there. There might even be the cleaners still inside there. What happened, Manny, when we went inside?
The cleaner was still in there, and we were rude and we didn't help them clean.
And we were the first too.
Sorry, my brother said we did forget to talk about Death Dealer, who was really cool. Death Dealer is in the comics as well. Yeah, what can we say about Death Dealer apart from he was actually a really awesome villain, and I was actually quite sad that he died in the final battle because I would have liked to have seen Death Dealer come back in number 2 and maybe kind of explore his origins a bit, maybe. And the thing is, I know that we've got Disney Plus as well. We don't have to explore things in the cinema context. We can explore things through series.
Well, as you're saying that about origin, some of the comments that I was actually seeing is that a lot of the fans was asking if Tony Leung will actually be coming back. They want to see a backstory for the Mandarin. They were like, they would love to see him in like a feature where it's actually about him, the Mandarin. And based on his performance, I think that's what they're basing it on, that he was so believable with all of his emotions and everything else, the way he portrayed everything. It was absolutely spot on. But I have to, and how could we forget this, Manny P?
Mm-hmm.
Shang, while he's there saving the world, he's rocking the Air Jordans.
Yeah.
Whooping butts in Air Jordans. How cool was that? That was the funniest thing ever.
That was good. But onto your previous point about making a feature film strictly about the Mandarin. You could talk about how he finds the rings because that's never really properly explored. I think that is something that does need to be explored if the rings are going to play a crucial part moving forward.
Perfect. Yeah.
I don't think they'll do it because I think the budget will just be too much. But what I'd like to see is like a 10-part.
Well, they could do it like this one. 100. It was apparently Shang-Chi's budget was 150 million.
Yeah, but obviously that makes the money. That makes the money back in the cinema. But what I'd like to see is like a 10-part series on Disney, kind of like detailing, the Mandarin's rise to power and then how he eventually accumulates the rings, kind of like filmed in the same vein as something like the 300 or something like that.
Yeah, but more expensive, not a budgeted one, better quality. Yeah. That would be perfect, Manny P, because then it could answer a lot of questions like, do you go searching for the ring, or does the ring seek you and summon you?
Yeah, this is a bit like the rings now.
Yeah.
Yeah, but no, I think it'd be good to actually properly, if it is going to be such an important part of the MCU, I do think they need to properly explore and get into the nitty-gritty of what that backstory is. Far East cinema industry could fund it, possibly, but I think there's an issue about China. You were actually telling me about this, Kay. There's an issue about China potentially not showing Shang-Chi in their cinemas.
Yeah, something about what they say, something with Simi Lu.
Something about the depiction of you know something. I'm not going to get into this until I properly know the answer, because I could end up saying something wrong.
Yeah, let's not.
Yeah. Yeah, but I mean, I think like that could work, because like maybe they could do a deal with like a Far East, like an Asian studio, maybe to like half produce it.
Yeah.
So then they could make money from it, and Disney make money from it, and then it carries on that kind of authentic kind of Asian cinema feel.
Yeah, I think they'll get it sorted. I don't think this will be the case like before, where you had so many movies that didn't actually, or so many characters crossovers that we could have had that we didn't get to have because this studio owned the rights to that character and blah blah blah. I think now they all see the bigger picture of how successful all these things can be. So
Yeah.
everyone will just leave their ego and just come together and just say, okay, let's just go forward doing this.
Yeah, and Sony and Disney have managed to form some kind of a working relationship. Maybe other
profit.
Yeah,
That
for profit,
exactly. Makes everyone works well.
Exactly, and to use the wrestling term again, maybe they're breaking down the forbidden door so that all these studios can work together, especially with the multiverses now.
Yeah.
The multiverse is the ring you sort out is Green Lantern territory. Don't go. Oh, indeed. So I think we'll leave it on there. Do you want to say goodbye?
Yes, folks. Have a lovely rest of the evening, weekend. We're out.